Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are doing good. We will start in just a moment. Hello, hello. Say hi when you come into the room. Leave a comment. Let me know who I'm talking to tonight. Love that song. Hi, everybody. I am Soleil. I'm the cover mother of Vision of Dawn Tour. I'm the founder and facilitator of the Charm School Mentorship Program. I'm your weekly reader, and I'm a dope bitch straight up out of Oakland. Hello, hello, hello. This is Tamika. Hi, Tamika. Oh my God, good to see you. Hello, Nicole. Hello, Dulcinea. Let's see. Somebody else is saying something? Okay. No, that's an update from last stream. Hi, Tamika. Good to see you. So I was going to do happy hour, but I'm going to be honest. I'm sick of hearing about Cheyenne Bryant. I'm sick of hearing about Kevin Hart. And I figured it was better use of our time to talk about what's going on in the stars, especially since I'm not going to be around for the next week and a half or so. So there's going to be quite a bit of time between now and when I do my next live. I really didn't want to spend time on that lady. It's enough scammers out in the world. It's enough grifters. I don't even want to invite that energy into this space. So I figured full moon Sunday, we might as well talk about what's going on with the full moon. And the next day after that, we have Mercury leaving Gemini and entering Cancer. A lot of people are going to have a lot of really, really big feelings. And so I figured it was a better use of our time for us to talk about that, okay? Hey, Aja, good to see you. Hey, Aisha, thank you for joining. I have a lot going on. In fact, if you guys see a suitcase or clothes or anything on the floor behind me, don't judge me. Do not judge me. What does your life look like when you're trying to pack? Things have been frantic for me today. I am not good at packing. I'm not good at preparing for a plane trip. It's real bad. So again, if I get to talking and you see a random sock or something behind me, please don't judge me. Do not judge me, okay? But I wanted to make sure that we got on here, had a little bit of conversation tonight, that I offered readings for anyone who wanted it or who would benefit from it at this time. I'm going to do my best not to be on here forever because, again, it doesn't matter how much I plan. I end up having way too much stuff to do at the last minute, and I want to make sure that I'm able to get to all of that. Should we start with the full moon? Or should we talk about, we'll end with Mercury. Let's talk about the full moon first, since the full moon is on Sunday, okay? On Sunday, May 31st, we're going to have a full moon in Sagittarius, okay? And again, if you've been here before, you already know that full moons are about release. When full moons come up, it is a great time for us to do personal reflection around truth, things in our belief system that need to be released and let go of. It's also a really good time to get in alignment in regards to illusion versus wisdom, right? What is clouding our judgment? What needs to be released so that we have clarity, right? Full moons specifically are very much about coming out of the shadows and into the light, right? And we got to remember that the ruling planet of Sagittarius is Jupiter, okay? So we have the moon, which is watery, emotional, right? Tied to the heart, which is about to step into Sagittarius, into Jupiter, which is a fire energy, okay? So when we have a full moon in Sagittarius, the energy around us can feel very big and very loud. Remembering that fire signs can come on very big, boisterous, and loud, and particularly Sagittarius, which is the luckiest sign of the zodiac, which is not used to being small in any way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter how many siblings a Sagittarius has, Most Sagittarius have only child energy, and I'm going to talk about that later, right? So the energy is going to be very loud. It's going to be very revealing. Emotions are going to have a very amplified quality up until and around the full moon in Sagittarius, okay? This moon is meant to expose where people have outgrown the smaller versions of themselves. I'm going to repeat that. The Sagittarius full moon is here to illuminate and expose the areas where you have outgrown the smaller versions of yourself. Okay? So if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel like, the ways in which you typically bind your tongue or pull back your opinions or make yourself smaller in certain environments, if you start to feel like those things that you typically do are agitating the hell out of you, that is by design. Jupiter, through Sagittarius's energy, is here to shake that up for us with this particular full moon, okay? Sagittarian energy does not like confinement. It is one of the biggest things. If you ever want to offend a Sagittarius, restrict their access, restrict their space, tell them they can't do some shit. Again, Jupiter's energy is about expansion, right? It's philosophy, it's exploration. So the easiest way to upset Sagittarian energy is to place restriction around it. Sagittarians don't want to be confined mentally, spiritually, emotionally, or physically. They don't. It's the card, not the card, it's the sign of world travel, right? So it makes sense that it doesn't want to be confined. This full moon is going to reveal where you feel trapped, where you feel limited, where dishonesty with yourself or other people has caused limitation, and where you may be feeling spiritually disconnected, okay? So this is a very heavy moon. A lot is going on with this particular full moon, okay? The culmination that Sagittarius brings is one around truth, our personal philosophies, where our knowledge may be limited, remembering that Sagittarius is the sign of higher education, philosophy, and thought, right? So where your belief systems, right, where your learning processes may be restricted, where do you need more freedom in your life? Those are all things that are going to be shaken up and agitated around the full moon in Sagittarius, right? Because the full moon in Sagittarius is specifically here to ask us, what truth do we have in our life that we can no longer ignore? What are we avoiding? What are we not looking at face to face and head on? What can we no longer hide from? One of the deficits, and I don't experience it as deficit. Maybe because I've never really been offended by it. I'm a Taurus, so even if you say it nasty, give it to me straight, as long as you're not trying to be mean, right? Sagittarians do have a reputation for being tactless. And that is because they don't like to get wrapped up in the niceties of a thing, because they care more about the urgency, right? And I'm bringing this up because some of the truths that are brought to you, that are put at your feet, right? They may show up in a way that feels tactless. Don't let the way that it's delivered shy you away from the impact and the significance of the message. That's a very important thing to be mindful of in the days leading up to the full moon, during the full moon, and in the days after. Okay? That is very important. Sagittarian energy is, again, it's a sign of philosophy, higher thought, world travel, expansion, right? It's also luck and favor. So Sagittarian energy seeks wisdom. It values perspective. It cares tremendously about liberation and purpose. So even if the things that are revealed to you under this full moon are uncomfortable, they are still being revealed to you in order to bring you closer to your purpose and to align you with liberation, to bring you liberation. Hey, Sanidra, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining. Sagittarian energy hates stagnation. It hates narrow-mindedness and small-mindedness. It hates being emotionally suffocated. Smothering a Sagittarius is the easiest way to make it run, right? They also dislike dishonesty and rigid thinking. So any area of life where you deal with that, where you're showing up small-minded, where you have stagnated and stalled, those are going to be areas where Sagittarius, or Jupiter in particular, really agitates those areas because they want you to change things. They want you to shake it up. They don't want you to hold yourself small, right? Sagittarians need expansion. And Sagittarius energy will bring expansion to anything that it touches, right? And so, again, even if you're in denial, if you're dealing with your ego, that's going to be revealed to you so that you can expand and grow beyond that, right? This moon is meant to show where you may be feeling spiritually exhausted, the environments you may have outgrown, places where you're operating within false optimism, and where you are dealing with fear disguised as practicality. You know what? That's interesting because that's a theme I've been talking about to people over the last 2 days. And I didn't even do these notes until earlier this morning, right? So it's already showing up with a couple of people around us. What are the things you are doing based out of fear and lying to yourself and telling yourself that you're being responsible or practical, right? What is the thing you should be investing in right now, but you're not doing it because you're telling yourself that it's a waste of money, right? What is the thing you should be giving to yourself, but you're not doing it because you believe that you're being practical by not being overindulgent or selfish, right? Those are all things that get highlighted. This is a time where you can feel like you're being called towards something bigger. And with that fire sign energy, because this is typical of fire signs, especially Sagittarius, if you are dealing with a place where you have outgrown something or you need to show up bigger, don't be surprised if that's the same area of life where you deal with a certain amount of emotional restlessness. Okay? That's wisdom, that's information. If you're feeling restless in a particular area of life, pay attention because there's information there. Where are you craving new experiences? Where do you feel like you need spiritual renewal? I've been having another conversation I've been having with people a lot, right? Our spiritual regimen and routines should be updated based on the seasons, whether it's the season of the world or the season we're in our life, right? So if you've been feeling disconnected or spiritually stagnated, Sagittarius is here to really ask you to look at that, to reflect over that, right? This is also a moon that really gets us to look at truth versus delusion. So this is a really good opportunity for shadow work for quite a few of us. When some of the shadow aspects of Sagittarius, right? If any of you guys are Sagittarius or have Sag partners or big Sag placements, please do not feel called out. Because in the last one, when I was talking about Scorpio, a couple of y'all took that personally. I talk shit about every zodiac sign because every zodiac sign has shadows, right? So please don't take anything I'm saying personally. But some of the shadow expressions of Sagittarius could be that they can be a little preachy, right? They can be a little preachy and a little self-righteous. Again, people who are rooted in philosophy, who are very, very intelligent, that's something that they can lean into very, very easily without reflection, right? Sagittarians can be very, very rooted in their spiritual ego, wrapped up in dogma, right? They can be a little arrogant. So there is a capacity to be spiritually inflated when the full moon is in Sagittarius, right? Is in Sagittarius. A lot of people love spirituality until it challenges their ego. I'm going to repeat that again. A lot of people love spirituality until it challenges their ego. And I can tell you that from experience as a priestess. You cannot believe how many, you would be surprised how many people love me. Oh my God, Mambo, I love you. You're such a gift. I'm grateful to have you in my life. And then the second that I have to be the vessel to tell them that their ancestors want them to get their shit together, that they can be more disciplined, that they're being inauthentic, whatever the message is, like the claws come out, right? So again, spirituality can be fun. People love it until it challenges their ego until it challenges the things that they don't want to confront, until it challenges their superiority, right? So another area where a lot of revelation may happen with a full moon in Sagittarius, 4 people just left the live after I said that. So I know I'm right. Why would that many people leave when I start talking about spirituality and ego? But it just happened, right? So don't be surprised if around this full moon, there's revelation around areas of life where you exercise spiritual superiority or conflict with people in your life who pretend to be spiritually superior, who operate from toxic positivity, right? Who engage in spiritual bypassing. This is going to be a tough moon for those people. This is going to be a tough moon for anybody who uses spirituality to avoid accountability. If you are somebody who has actively used your spirituality as a form of escapism, as a form of, or a way, a vehicle rather, to avoid being responsible for your actions, this moon is really going to kick you in the ass. So get ready, right? Sagittarius values freedom, but an immature Sagittarius or a debilitated Sagittarius can confuse escapism for freedom. That Page of Cups energy, right? It can use avoidance or confuse avoidance with independence, right? Running away from responsibility because they want to be independent. They don't want to be responsible for other people. It can also confuse, and this is a word that is often associated with Sagittarius, it can confuse recklessness with authenticity, right? Rejecting, being dismissive, being disruptive, minimizing other people because you confuse that with power. Nicki Minaj is a Sagittarius. Jay-Z is a Sagittarius. They do it in different ways, but they can be very dismissive of other people who try to hold them accountable. Pay attention to how Jay-Z talks about being a billionaire. Complete denial, right? But recklessness conflated with authenticity. That happens when Sagittarian energy is debilitated, right? So pay attention to the areas of life where you're constantly running from something. Pay attention to the areas of life where you have an inability to commit. Pay attention to the areas of life where you are in cyclical healing journeys in order to avoid taking responsibility. I know some hit dogs. I apologize. It may not be you. You just may know somebody in your life who's that way, right? They can never take responsibility. They can never show up in their maturity because they convince themselves that if I use my healing as an excuse, then I don't have to be responsible. Pay attention to those people around you during this full moon, right? Not every exit is liberation. Sometimes people flee because they lack emotional endurance, right? They lack maturity. And the Sagittarian full moon will reveal that. It will expose that. It's going to reveal the lies people tell about themselves, the places where you or other people around you may have settled for less because they didn't want to do the work, right? It can reveal where lifestyles are unsustainable, right? The people in your life who make it seem like they're financially better than what they are. You may witness a car decline or a light get shut off by somebody who acts like they have it all. Those are all things that happen when full moon is in Sagittarius. Hidden dissatisfactions within other people rise to the surface, right? Anywhere where you are exaggerating or amplifying where things are not going in your life in order to perform toxic positivity, that will be exposed, okay? There is also, again, I mentioned this earlier, but there's a spiritual restlessness that's just in the collective during this time. Sagittarians can be extremely restless when their energy is not being engaged. Hello, Tamika. It's good to see you. So a lot of people can feel suddenly dissatisfied or emotionally confined, uninspired. And hopefully, what I wish for everyone who is watching this either live or in the replay, if you feel that way, then instead of letting that energy make you do something reckless, hopefully it calls you towards reinvention, right? And reflection about where the feelings are coming from. Because once consciousness expands, it can become difficult to shrink yourself after, right? So if you're feeling that way, what can you do to make sure that you don't get forced back into that feeling, right? The desire for authenticity is strong. The search for higher wisdom and education through the study of philosophy and metaphysics, things that shift your perspective. There's going to be a really strong craving for that while the full moon is in Sagittarius, right? But be careful to think about the difference between wisdom and information. We live in a technological age. AI is running rampant. Everybody is addicted to the tiki-taki. Like, be careful that if you are seeking knowledge, that it's actually coming from a place of actual wisdom and information, actual wisdom, and not just information meant for distraction, right? That's very important. Wisdom is not how much information you can collect. Wisdom is the knowledge that transforms your life and your lifestyle, okay? So some of the ways that you should work with a full moon in Sagittarius, really reflecting over where you feel emotionally confined, asking spirit to give you revelation around that, right? Really being honest with yourself about the truths that you're avoiding, right? Asking yourself, are you expanding or escaping? This is a great time for journaling, right? Spirit gave me this earlier and I thought it was really cute, and I encourage anybody who has the ability to do it to try it. This is a great time for a road trip. If you are in the position where you can take a road trip, it doesn't have to be like across the country, right? But if you can take a little road trip, if you can really just get in the car and drive and be with somebody that you can engage in conversation and reflection with, this is a great time for that. I love that as a spiritual prescription, right? But the main thing you should be focusing on right now is prayer and conversation with your ancestors, right? Asking them to help you and support you with the release of any limiting spiritual beliefs you have at this time, okay? But you also want to avoid impulsive decisions because, again, fire energy can be impulsive, right? And so if you're given wisdom, give yourself time to sit with it to make sure that you're operationalizing it in a way that helps you and not hinders you, okay? This full moon is a lot less about comfort and more about truth, okay? Sagittarius energy reminds us that growth often begins the moment we stop lying to ourselves. So rather than beating yourself up about anything, any false belief you may have over amplified or any outdated ways of doing, seeing things that you've carried over, or any dogmas that no longer serve you. If those things are revealed to you, now's not a time for beat up. It's a time for reflection and release, okay? Freedom without self-awareness can become chaos. But truth with wisdom can become liberation. So use this full moon to help with the exposure of where your spirit has outgrown your current reality, okay? So those are my thoughts about the full moon in Sagittarius. Let me take a sip of water real quick, and then we'll talk about Mercury moving into Cancer. I'm really glad that people showed up tonight. I just want to say that because I typically don't do Astro Hour on a Tuesday. And I was a little fearful people wouldn't be here. So I'm grateful for everybody who's in the room right now. If you know anybody that would benefit from this discussion, feel free to invite them to the live to share the link with them, okay? We already talked about the full moon in Sagittarius. The next day on June 1st, we have Mercury entering into Cancer, okay? Mercury is going to enter Cancer on June 1st, and it's going to stay there until June 26th. It is exiting out of Gemini energy, okay? So we're still in Gemini energy. We're still in that very communicative, loquacious, double-minded, right? Duality-driven kind of energy that's related to Gemini. But on Sunday, Mercury is going to be moving into Cancer, which is rooted in emotional intelligence and ancestral memory. Remember, Cancer is the mother of the zodiac. Capricorn is the father, Cancer is the mother. And anytime we're dealing with the mother, anytime we're dealing with the healing waters of the maternal, we are dealing with ancestral wisdom and memory. So this is going to be the return of feeling related to communication, right? Remembering that Gemini is all air, all intellect. Mercury is still air, yes, but it's now entering into Cancer, which is watery, feelings, memory, emotion, okay? That makes so much sense. That makes a lot of sense. I tend to remember your big three, and I can remember the big three for most of my clients, but I didn't know that was in Cancer for you. That actually makes a lot of sense. Thank you for sharing that, Ticinia. Anybody else have any Cancer placements they want to share? Let me know. I thought that my moon was in Cancer for a very, very long time, but that was just because I got my first astrological reading was done by somebody who actually did not like me, and they did my reading wrong on purpose. So I was walking around for a long time thinking that I had the wrong moon, but it's actually Virgo. I think I show up like a Virgo moon. But okay, let me get back to the point. So for the last few weeks, we've had Mercury in Cancer, right? And Mercury is very quick. It's very fast. It's overstimulation. It's gossip. Gemini energy can be communication overload. They talk a lot. They gossip a lot. They research a lot. They move from one thing to another a lot, which is so funny because I have a goddaughter, and Aja, I think Aja's still here. Aja is the most non-Gemini I've ever met. But again, we're not going to get distracted by that. But this is how people typically understand Gemini, right? Gossipy, information overload, But once Mercury moves into Cancer, our collective conversation and our collective energy is really going to shift to being much more emotional instead of intellectual. And that is because Cancer rules emotions, ancestral memory, motherhood, protection, 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 protection. And I'm going to tell you why I'm harping on that in a little bit. But also vulnerability and what we need in order to feel emotionally safe. Those are all things related to Cancer, okay? So once Mercury, which rules communication, speech, and thinking, moves into Cancer, which is about ancestral memory, emotions, and maternal nurturing, people stop communicating from logic and start communicating from their emotional memory. Hey, Sylvia, thank you for joining. Good to see you. So when Mercury is in Cancer, Mercury becomes very intuitive. Our communication becomes extremely intuitive. We hear and feel the things that are not being said, the words between the lines, right? We can become very emotionally driven in our thinking. Our memory-based perception is really sharp and high. Our speech becomes extremely protective, right? And our communication is emotionally intelligent. Now, here's the thing. Mercury don't really like to be in Cancer like that. Mercury doesn't like to be in any of the water. It really doesn't, because it wants to be all logic. Think about the King of Swords energy, right? It wants to be strategic. It wants to be logical. It wants to go from one thing to the next. Have you ever seen a crab walk? Crabs walk sideways. So Cancer never does anything straightforward. That's not a bad thing. And I'm going to come back to that later, okay? So while Mercury is in Cancer, your moon is in Cancer. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes a ton of sense, Aja. It's funny, too, because I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, but you kind of look like a Cancer, right? The like soft baby face, and you look like you would be a Cancer, so that actually makes sense. But during a Mercury in Cancer transit, people are processing their emotional associations. Nostalgia is very, very heavy. Trauma memory comes up, right? And I'm going to explain why that is in a little bit. Our family conditioning really comes to the surface, right? Cancer is the fourth house. Cancer is the fourth house. So our childhood memories, the ways we were or were not nurtured, right? Mother's nurture. All those things come up when Mercury is in Cancer. People won't just react to what you say when Mercury is in Cancer. They will be reacting to how safe or unsafe it makes them feel. And I can actually understand why people would have thought my moon was in Cancer, because as a Taurus, my energy is always talk to me nice. It's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? And that's going to be how everybody is operating during that 3.5 week period. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Talk to me nice, right? Are you making me feel safe to have conversations? Or are you weaponizing the tone and the tenor of a conversation to shut people down? Those are things that come up, right? So some of the positive expressions of Mercury in Cancer is that it can create a deeper sense of emotional honesty, the environment for nurturing conversations, opportunity for healing family discussions. Lord God, please let that be my reality. Opportunities for intuitive insight, your discernment. It's going to be really, really sharp and strong. Think about the discernment and the intuition of a mother, right? So your discernment will be very sharp and strong while Mercury is in Cancer. There's also a lot of opportunity for compassionate listening. So when Mercury is in Cancer, if you've been out of therapy for a while, this is a great time to get back into therapy. If you have not met with your coaches, your life coaches, this is a great time to meet with your life coach. This is a great time to strengthen your divination. This is a great time for ancestral work, for storytelling, writing your story down, processing what you've gone through writing. Mercury in Cancer is perfect for that. It's also great to get wisdom from your elders, especially maternal elders in your life. It's a great time to share oral traditions and to remember family patterns and family traditions, right? Also a Cancer moon. Every time I come on here, I find synchronicities within the group. That's because, that's because that's the way it's supposed to be. I love hearing that. That makes me so happy. Okay. But let's talk about some of the shadow expressions of Cancer for a minute, because it's important to be aware of that. Cancerian people, especially Cancerian women, can be very emotionally reactive, very defensive, passive aggressive and indirect, right? That's one of the main things I've noticed about Cancers. When they are offended or when you have hurt them or when they're angry at you, they will sulk and implode before they explode, right? So there's a way that, and again, it's the mother, right? I hate to go there, but they can manipulate through guilt, right? I think about, I love my mama down, but my mama was a Cancer, right? And I don't even remember, I think my whole life I got spanked maybe twice, but the amount of times she would pull that "I'm disappointed in you and stop talking to me" thing, right? But manipulating people through guilt, right? That's something to be mindful of, because that is a shadow expression of Cancer, okay? So if you do it, or if people are doing it to you, be mindful of that during that 3.5 week period, okay? Just because something feels true emotionally doesn't mean that it is true objectively. And sometimes that tendency to process emotions through feelings can be dangerous because it distorts, right, the actual information that's given. So be mindful of your trauma responses during this time. Be mindful of projections, either you projecting onto other people or the ways that other people project onto you. Try to interpret things. Be deliberate about interpreting things through neutrality, right? And also not interpreting other people's neutrality as rejection, right? If somebody is being neutral to you or straightforward with you, if you interpret that as them minimizing you or rejecting you, you will cause a bunch of unnecessary problems during this transit. So be mindful, right? Be careful about how you emotionally filter things. 7 of Cups, right? A big warning that I want to give again, because Mercury, this is still Mercury, right? And even though it's coming out of Gemini, Mercury is Mercury. Be careful about the tendency to sit around and gossip as a form of emotional bonding, especially gossiping around other women or older women, okay? Be careful. Mercury in Cancer can increase emotionally intimate gossip or a gossip that comes from a place of concern. I don't know if people still use that phrase, concern trolling, but the gossip can take on the nature of concern trolling while Mercury is in Cancer, right? Be mindful about how you talk about family secrets. If you know that there's a family secret that's scandalous, but your fucking weak ass ain't gonna do shit to step up or protect nobody or to change the toxicity in your family, don't sit around and gossip about your fucking family members. If you know there's an uncle that's weird, go check that nigga. Don't sit there and gossip about him or gossip about who he's harmed. Fucking check things. If you're not going to do anything to change it, don't gossip about it. Okay? Seriously, be mindful of how you engage with people's vulnerable information because that can show up as emotional abuse. Okay? Be careful about bonding with people through gossip because the stakes are high and you can fuck up some of your most intimate relationships, right? People will use vulnerability, emotional disclosure, or fake outrage in order to create a false sense of intimacy. Be careful, be mindful. If somebody who has not spoken to you in months pops up on your phone pretending to be concerned about somebody, be mindful, okay? A lot of people don't bond through honesty, unfortunately. They bond through shared emotional dysfunction. So be careful about how you're using your words while Mercury is in Cancer, especially if you're using your words to exploit someone else's vulnerabilities, all right? Weaponized vulnerability can show up in the form of using tears to avoid accountability, through emotional manipulation, through guilt-based communication, right? Or through martyr complexes, because that's also a shadow side of Cancer. They will make a whole bunch of sacrifices for people that no one asked them to do, and then when somebody doesn't show up the way that they want them to, it's, oh my God, woe is me, how could you take advantage of me? Nobody asked you to do that shit. So that's another thing. Be mindful of how you give while Mercury is in Cancer. If you are giving with the expectation that somebody's going to do something for you, or that you get to control them, or that they get to show up in a particular way just because you gave them your time, your resources, whatever, you are giving from a place of manipulation and not connection. So please be mindful of that, okay? Let's talk about the ancestors and ancestral memory for a little bit. So I mentioned earlier that Cancer is related to ancestry and lineage, right? It's about inherited emotional patterns, right? Things we inherited from the mother. It's also about family conditioning, right? The early stages of our development in childhood, what we learned about how to operate in a family and then take out into the rest of the world. So when Mercury enters Cancer, it can increase a lot of vivid dreams. It can increase a lot of ancestral downloads. You can find yourself reconnecting and remembering a lot of childhood experiences and also remembering family lessons that you may have forgotten, right? Some of us are about to remember things emotionally before we fully remember them intellectually. So be prepared for that, okay? Mercury in Cancer really favors testimony. It favors personal stories. It favors family traditions and practices. It favors emotional inheritance. This is an amazing time to write down family recipes and things that may be coming back to you through dreams or through downloads or through memories, right? Writing down old sayings from elders that may repeat over and over in your mind. Remembering the spiritual warnings that may have been passed down to you from the elders or from family members in your life. All those forms of intuitive knowing, right? Those are things to really reflect over and make sure that you're writing them down in your journals, in your grimoires, okay? Let's talk about relationships and social dynamics, right? So communication in our relationships, again, because Mercury is communication. When Mercury is in Cancer, people can really crave reassurance, right? That's one thing about Cancers. They need a lot of reassurance, but they also resent the fact that they need reassurance. So they're going to hide it, but they crave it, right? So don't be surprised if you find yourself really craving reassurance. And if you want validation from your most intimate relationships, right? This is also a time where you can get nostalgic about your exes, which is really fucking annoying. So just be mindful of that. Do have something there to distract you. But people do tend to become a little clingier, right, when Mercury is in Cancer. And if you're typically not a clingy person, but you find yourself showing up that way, give yourself some grace. Don't get frustrated with yourself. It's literally just the transit, right? This is a period where your tone matters, delivery matters, emotional safety matters. So really thinking about how you would want to feel when you have certain conversations with somebody, right? If you're trying to deliver information and you know it's touchy, think about how you would want it delivered to you. Be careful with how you talk to people under this influence, right? Issues around family guilt. If you were raised by an emotionally immature parent, don't be surprised if issues around that start to come to the surface for you while Mercury is in Cancer. Any kind of unspoken emotional patterns are likely to come to the surface and really call you to engage with them and communicate with them while Mercury is in Cancer. Mercury in Cancer doesn't just expose what was done and said in a family. It exposes what everybody felt, but people avoided because they didn't want to discuss, right? So those secrets, those truths that everyone was avoiding will come to the surface while Mercury is in Cancer. So Mercury is asking us, how do we communicate when our emotions are involved, right? When Mercury is in Cancer, we're meant to ask ourselves, do we use our communication to connect or are we using it to control, okay? Are we being emotionally honest or are we using passive aggression in order to push or disconnect ourselves away from our uncomfortable feelings, right? Are we listening to understand or are we listening to defend ourselves because we feel victimized by critique? Those are all things we're meant to reflect over when Mercury is in Cancer, okay? Mercury in Cancer is here to teach us that emotional intelligence is not just about having feelings, right? Everybody has feelings. Emotional intelligence is about having responsibility for what we feel and letting our emotions teach us, okay? This transit is going to show people that unresolved emotions always find a way into communication. So you can do it from an aligned place where you're taking responsibility, or you can do it from a place of hiding and passive aggression, which only leads to more complications in the long run, okay? So that is Mercury in Cancer. Yeah, we're at the end of the live now. If anyone wants me to do a reading for them, either about what the full moon in Sagittarius has in store for them or what Mercury in Cancer wants for them, I'm happy to do one. I have a spread for each one. Just go ahead and send your love offering and then just put sent in the comments so that I can answer your questions in order. While you all are doing that, I'm going to just update you guys on a few things. Chicken foot amulets as well as love and romance readings are still on sale for one more week. Again, those are my discounted offerings for the month of May. So if you would still like to get a love and romance reading while it's discounted, those will be on sale until the morning of June 1st. If you would still like to purchase a custom chicken foot amulet, you can do so. Those will be on sale for $75 until June 1st. Okay? After June 1st, the price goes back up for both of them to their original costs. All right? What else? Right now, I am not actively accepting people into Charm School mentorship. I just accepted a new person, and I'm going to take the next month or so to just really get them acclimated. But if you are interested in joining Charm School for our July cohort, make sure you join the, what's it called? The WhatsApp intake group, which is in the description of this video, so that way you can get your questions answered, and that way you can also just learn more information about the program. In the meantime, if you want mentorship, but you may not be able to commit to a mentorship that's in real time with weekly meetings and in-person gatherings and all that shit, all those things, pardon me, consider joining my study hall mentorship program. That is a self-paced mentorship program where you still get lessons, you still get assignments, but you complete them at your own time and pace. And you can still learn about that mentorship program by joining the Charm School intake group as well. Okay? Pathways to Power, which is the road opening ritual that I collaborate with Kodan on, will be happening June 22nd through the 26th, I believe. So if you would like to join us for that, make sure you click the intake group for that as well. Our most recent class, which is the candle reading course, is up in the Patreon. So that's another way you can have classes with me. They're not as extensive as my mentorship classes, but they are accessible if for whatever reason you're not in a position to join mentorship, okay? All paid levels of my Patreon get access to live classes, and everyone at the friendship level or higher gets access to the course replays. I also will be this month going back to doing the zodiac sign readings, so keep your eyes out for those as well on the Patreon, okay? And then last but not least, and this is what I'm really excited because we're so close to it, and I'm just really, really geeked. My Divine Feminine Hoodoo retreat. I look forward to it. It is my baby. We do it every year, and this year we will be in San Diego, California, because we will be by the water. We will be learning about the water and its power related to the Divine Feminine. In Hoodoo, you will be learning different modalities of how to use water as medicine, in addition to some other Hoodoo traditions as well. So if you're interested in joining me in San Diego for 3 days of healing, rejuvenation, and just bonding with some bad bitches, join the intake group for the Sacred Alignment Retreat, which is going to be happening July 17th through the 19th in San Diego, California, to learn more about my retreat, okay? So I heard some things going off while I was talking, so I see that a few people did submit offerings. Just give me one moment. I see that Tamika submitted a love offering. Aisha submitted a love offering, and Dulcinea submitted a love offering. So Tamika, if you can tell me which of the readings you would like, I will go ahead with you. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and start with Aisha because she wants both. So we're going to start with Aisha. We'll go into Tamika once she says which reading she wants. Then we'll go into Dulcinea. And if there's anyone outside of those three ladies that would like a reading, go ahead and submit your love offering and let me know which of the readings you would like. And if you like both, that's an option as well. Okay? So because Aisha wants both and I'm already open to Mercury and Cancer, we're going to start with Mercury and Cancer, okay? And this is to help you understand what Mercury and Cancer, what the messages are beneath the surface, what it's trying to reveal to you about communication, okay? Ancestors, angels, ascended master, spirits to walk with me. What wisdom does Mercury entering Cancer have to give to Aisha? What wisdom does Mercury in Cancer want to give her about her communication? What is there for her to learn? What is the wisdom for her to gain? And the wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. Tamika Carlisle, thank you for your love offering. Please let me know which of the two readings you would like to get. If there's anyone else that would like a reading, go ahead and submit your love offering and let me know which of the readings you would like, okay? Okay. All right. So in the first position, Aisha, which is asking what emotion is influencing your communication right now, we have the Ten of Wands. The biggest thing that's influencing your communication is a deep sense of overwhelm, a deep sense of exhaustion, a deep sense of burden. And a lot of the exhaustion and the burden doesn't belong to you. You are exhausted and burdened because you are carrying the weight of things that don't belong to you, right? Ten of Wands asks us to remove things off of our back, to delegate things back to the people that they belong to. So it's like you carry a lot of emotional exhaustion and weight in how you communicate, and you carry baggage from the projections of other people that don't belong to you, right? And it shows up in how you talk about yourself and how you talk about your perspective to other people, okay? In the position of the emotional pattern that you inherited, we have the Fool card. So you have inherited an emotional pattern of feeling like you have to learn things on your own, that you are on a journey on your own. And even when you have support around you, you feel like the journey of life is one where you're just out in the wilderness. Like, I always say this phrase of like punching in the dark, right? And the Fool card is a solo traveler. It's somebody who's exploring a road by themselves. It's somebody who's learning through doing, because they low-key don't really have, they have the support of their ancestors, but they travel alone, right? So there's a belief that, or an emotional pattern that you've inherited, that you are responsible for you and that no one else is going to help you, right? What truth needs to be spoken with emotional maturity? Seven of Wands. Like, there are a lot of people in your life that you give a lot of, and I know this is Wands, you give a lot of attention, and I'll also say lip and ear service too. Give a lot of space and attention to people who you kind of outgrown. And it's almost like you feel guilty or bad for having outgrown this space and attention. And the Seven of Wands is coming up to let you know that it just distracts you, right? Look, this person, the thing about the Seven of Wands when you look at it is the people that are poking at them and trying to distract them are at their feet. So there is an elevation that's happened. And the only reason why the person is actually getting distracted is because instead of continuing to focus on their elevation, they're literally bringing themselves down back to an old version of themselves to engage with the distraction, right? So the truth that is being revealed and has been being revealed for a while, and the truth that needs to be spoken with a sense of emotional maturity is that, again, going back to the first card, a lot of the things that weigh you down, you've actually outgrown them. So you got to figure out a way to release them so that they don't continue to hold you stagnant. Let me know if that resonates with you. Now we're going to look into what the full moon in Sagittarius has to teach you. Okay. And again, because this is a full moon in Sagittarius, this is a truth and expansion spread. So let's look into what this has for Aisha. Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits that walk with me, and elevated ancestors. What is the truth and expansion that the full moon in Sagittarius is here to bring Aisha? What will be revealed? What will help her move forward with expansion and move forward with confidence. Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. Thank you, Nicole. I will get to you after I've done Dulcinia's reading. Tamika, if you're still here, please let me know. Tamika Carlisle, if you are still here, please let me know which of the readings you would like, okay? But I'm going to do Dulcinia next. If Tamika shows up, I'll do Tamika after Dulcinia. If not, then I'll just go straight to Nicole. If there's anyone else that would like a reading, send your love offering in and let me know which of the readings, or if you want both, in the comments, okay? What truth are you being asked to acknowledge? I love this. We have the Justice card for you. I think there's a part of you that doesn't fully believe that not only that everything you worked hard for is already coming to you or has already come to you, that it's going to continue to come to you. Justice card is karma, right? And it's not karma in like, oh, somebody did something bad to me, you know, they're going to get something bad done to them. Even that's a bastardization of what karma is, right? But it's karmic in the understanding of the way that you take justice into your own hands is by giving what you want to receive. Because what you give to the universe, you will get back, right? So any hard work you put into a situation, you will receive the justice of that hard work. And so a truth that you really need to embrace, a truth that you really need to stand in is understanding that a lot of what you worked hard for, you are starting to not only see the reward of it, but more of that reward is coming. Okay. In the second position, where are you being called to expand? We have the Hangman. So there is a call and a need for a shift in your perspective, right? If you can surrender to where you are right now in life, it will allow you the perspective to see things differently and to really understand how far you've come and to see parts of the reality of your situation that aren't necessarily clear to you in this moment, right? In the third position, we have one of my absolute favorite cards in the entire deck. And this is answering what must be released so you can move forward freely. You have to release the responsibility for other people. You see me shuffle, so you know I'm not making this shit up. You know I'm not picking certain cards. I feel bad because I don't want you to think that I'm trying to force a conversation, but Chariot moves alone. People often accuse the Chariot of being selfish, right? And it's a Cancerian energy. It's sensitive, and that sensitivity brings an adaptability to it, but it has a toughness and a hardness because it has the shell of the Cancer, right? Or the shell of a crab. And that makes them somebody who is really, really capable of a lot of success because not only do they have the strength to keep going, but even if something happens that throws them off path, that sensitivity brings them an adaptability that can help them figure things out and move forward, right? So for you, with the Chariot coming up, in answering what must you release so that you can move forward freely, you have to release the understanding that if you don't drag people along with you, that you're doing something wrong or you're being selfish. No, you are responsible for you. You're responsible for your own successes. And if people decide to catch up with you or follow you along, that's beautiful and that's great. But you don't get to stagnate yourself and to not keep going just because other people aren't capable of keeping up with you, okay? So that is the wisdom that the full moon in Sagittarius has to give you, Aisha. Thank you for trusting me. I really, really hope that that resonated with you and that that was helpful. Tamika still hasn't said anything, so I'm going to go ahead and go to Dulcinia next, who wants the Mercury in Cancer reading. And then after Dulcinia, I'll go to Nicole And if there's anyone else here who wants either a full moon reading or a Mercury in Cancer reading, just let me know. Dulcinea, let me know if you're still here. You're very welcome, Aisha. Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits that walk with me, my elevated ancestors. What wisdom does Dulcinea need about Mercury entering into Cancer? What does the transit of Mercury in Cancer have to teach her at this time? What will it teach her about how she communicates and how she connects with others? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. Okay, so Dulcinea, in terms of what emotion is influencing your communication right now, we got the Eight of Pentacles. You work very, very hard and you are amazing at your work. You're developing a good reputation for your work, but you also deal with a lot of imposter syndrome. Okay? And the interesting thing about Eight of Pentacles is that even though it's about refinement of a skill set while we're battling imposter syndrome, the wisdom of it is that the only way we can conquer the imposter syndrome is to continue to keep working hard, right? So that's kind of where you are right now. Like, you are very smart, very sharp, refining your skills, but while refining your skills, there is a certain amount of imposter syndrome that you are navigating, and that influences how you communicate. You can, in the same breath that you reveal something that or share something that is deeply brilliant and insightful, you will almost downplay it because you don't feel like you deserve to be the person that's saying it, right? So that is something to be mindful of. In the position of what emotional pattern did you inherit, we have the Three of Cups. It's easier, two things from this. It's easier for you to celebrate for other people than it is for you to celebrate yourself. So you got to work on that. You got to work on celebrating yourself just as much as you celebrate other people. You also have an unhealthy tendency to gossip as a form of emotional bonding. You may not do it on purpose. You may also have convinced yourself, well, I'm not saying anything, I'm just listening, right? Be careful about that. It's not a good thing. So just make sure that you can temper that habit because it's one that you inherited, right? You probably watched, the elder women in your community, or even the elder men, because men be gossiping. I got an uncle that gossip like a bitch, right? But it's something you picked up from the elders around you, and just be mindful of it and how it may show up in this transit. What truth needs to be spoken with emotional maturity? You don't have to be busy all the time to be productive. And if you move from the understanding that busy and productive are the same things, you will take on a lot of shit that doesn't belong to you or take on responsibility for a lot of things that distract you. And that is something, a truth that's really being revealed to you right now because it's important. It's important that you conquer it at this time in your life so it doesn't carry over into the next chapter. Okay? Let me know if that resonated with you, Dulcinea. Let me know if that was helpful. Since we're already on Mercury in Cancer, Nicole, I'm just going to go ahead and start with that one for you, and then we'll wrap up with the full moon in Sagittarius reading for you. Let me find. Okay, so this is Nicole's comment. Y'all know I'm a pothead and my memory sucks, so I got to actually make sure I'm looking at the person. Dulcinea, let me know if you heard your reading and if it resonates with you, okay? Nicole, are you still here? I hope so. Let me know if you're still here, Nicole. If there's anyone else that would like either a full moon in Sagittarius or a Mercury in Cancer reading or both, go ahead and send your love offering and put in the comments section which one you want. If not, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up with Nicole so that I can go back to trying to figure out what my life is in relationship to trying to pack suitcases. All right. Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits that walk with me, my elevated ancestors. What is the wisdom that Mercury in Cancer is here to provide Nicole with? What will the June 1st through 26th Mercury in Cancer transit teach Nicole at this time? What is the wisdom that this transit has to offer her? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. I'm a bad bitch and I'm that nigga. I don't think you heard me. That song has been in my head all day. Duran Bernard like ate with that one. I'm a bad bitch and I'm that nigga. Put that on my tombstone. Alrighty. So Nicole, in first position, which looks at what emotion is influencing your communication right now. I love this for you. Empress, right now in this moment, as we go into Mercury in Cancer, your communication is actually very maternal, right? When people hear you speak, they hear the creative force within you, right? Your imagination is very strong right now, whether you know it or not, right? And so there's not only a nurturing nature, but a really positive, abundant, there's a vitality to how you are communicating with other people right now. And it really reveals like a hopefulness that's beneath a lot of the conversations that you're having with other people, okay? Love that for you. Love, love, love that for you. In the position of the emotional pattern that you inherited, we have the Justice card. So what this means in terms of a pattern that you've inherited, it's like you feel responsible for making sure that things are just and right in most of the environments that you're a part of, right? Fairness is deeply important to you. Now, how that can show up in terms of that Libra energy with the Justice card is that there are times where you can overthink or be too slow to make certain decisions because you are so occupied with the fairness of it, right? Which that may not sound like a bad thing, but if it's something that makes you slow in terms of slow to commit, or that makes people uncertain about where you stand, because that's a very Libra problem, right? Libras can be so wrapped up in trying to hear both sides that people never know where they stand. They can disagree with something publicly, even though or agree with something publicly, even though they disagree with it privately, right? This is something that you've inherited. Like you've learned almost that you have to remain neutral, even when you have strong feelings. And that may not be an emotional pattern that serves you any longer, okay? In the position of the truth that needs to be spoken with emotional maturity, 8 of Wands, you have a lot going on. Your life is about you. There's a lot of changes in your life, and you really want to be open and ready, staying ready so you don't have to get ready, staying ready so you don't have to get ready for the opportunities that are coming to you. 8 of Wands is a very like pick up and go kind of energy, which is kind of where you are energetically right now. And being comfortable and okay with that is really, really important so that you don't accidentally and I see now why this Justice card with Libra came up. It's really important that you're comfortable with this so that you don't accidentally make people think that you have more capacity to get to them to what you do, right? There's a lot of opportunity coming in your life, but it's opportunity that's meant for you. 8 of Wands is also the card of the Phoenix. So you're also in a space of personal transformation in your life, which again is about you. It's not about other people, right? So that is what Mercury in Cancer has to teach you. Let's look at what the full moon in Sagittarius has for you, Nicole. If no one else wants a reading, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up with Nicole. So this may be the last spread that I do. If there's anyone else that would like either a full moon in Sagittarius or a Mercury in Cancer reading, go ahead and submit your love offering and put a comment in the comment section, okay? Ancestors, angels, ascended master spirits that walk with me. What does the full moon in Sagittarius have to teach Nicole? What will be revealed for her during the full moon in Sagittarius? What is this full moon here to help her release? And what does that release clear the space for? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. Oh, thank you for me. I'm about bitching. I'm that nigga. Okay. So in the position of card 1, which looks at what truth are you being asked to acknowledge, we have the 3 of Wands. And part of the truth that you're asked to being asked to acknowledge is that right now you are in a space of creation in terms of what it is you want for your empire, your legacy, and what your future experiences are going to be. This is a time of planning and plotting. And that's a beautiful thing, right? 3 of Wands energy is really beautiful. This is the time where you take initial steps to really create the kind of legacy that you want for yourself. Legacy is something that's really important that you should be focused on right now at this point in your life, right? In the position of card 2, which is where you're being called to expand. This is okay. Why is this? This is the fucking cutest Ace of Cups ever on the planet. You see how she's resting really peacefully inside of this cup? I love it, right? The reason why this is talking about where you're being called to expand is you're being called to expand in terms of your relationship to trust. Your trust in yourself, your trust in other people. The universe, again, look at the last spread, that 8 of Wands, blessings and opportunities that come really quickly, right? The universe is pouring a lot into you right now, and it's going to continue to pour a lot into you. And so where you're being asked to expand is in your ability to receive, right? Making sure that you're not rejecting things either out of fear that other people are going to control you through their generosity, or fear that you aren't worthy or capable of handling the things that are poured into you. So really making sure that the heart chakra is balanced, really making sure that you're working on your relationship to trust in the universe and in yourself right now. Very, very important. In the third position, which looks at what must be released so you can move forward freely, the World card. There are no limitations with you. The world is your oyster, right? There's a lot of opportunity. This is a point where you should be celebrating just how much freedom you have, right? And everything you've done to get to this space of freedom and exploration. So that's something that you really need to lean into. So any feelings around restriction, any feelings around obligation that you have convinced yourself are keeping you limited, you got to release them, embrace that world energy right now, okay? So that's your reading. We're at the end of the readings. I want to thank you all for those of you who did submit a question, for trusting me to read for you. I keep saying, and I always want to be clear, yes, these are discounted readings, but the fact that you let me read on a public live stream is an act of vulnerability. And so I do want to thank everybody that allowed me to read for them tonight. Yeah, if you guys need me, you know where to find me. My website is soleilconjureshop.com. My business number is 404-654-3246. The live streams, I won't be here for the next week for the live streams. So I'll miss, y'all gonna miss me. I know it. Y'all gonna miss me. A week and a half without me, y'all can't stand it. But I will be back in the second week of June. The live streams will resume. In the meantime, if you need readings, if you need to schedule any kind of consultations, life coaching, anything of that nature with me, if you want to purchase classes, if you want to purchase an amulet or my Rich Spirit body wash, you can do so by going to soleilconjureshop.com and placing an order. If you're on my email list, keep an eye out because in the next 2 weeks, there will be another sale. There isn't one right now, but there will be one. There are discounted offerings that are specifically for the month of May, which are the love and romance readings and the chicken foot amulet. So if you're interested in either of those, again, go to soleilconjureshop.com to check those out. If you want to sign up for the road opening ritual, Pathways to Power, click the link in the description. If you want to join my Patreon to look at previous classes offered and also get lessons on herbalism, get readings based on your zodiac sign, click the link below to explore the tiers of my Patreon. Y'all be good while I'm gone, okay? I'll see y'all in about a week and a half. When I get back, we'll be in a new month. I love you all. Be safe. Be kind to one another. And until I see you in a couple of weeks, take care. Bye. Have a good night.